But with Season 2 Reloaded, we get actually a pretty big update that includes a lot of changes, as well as some new content, and kind of heading into Season 3, where we're going to see even more changes. So, events. There's going to be the new Path of the Ronin challenges, which is basically going to give you access to specific camos. On St. Patrick's Day, the water is going to turn green, and it looks like there's going to be something at the top of observation over here. And I think it's going to be sniper related. So hopefully there's like a one-shot sniper, at least there, until they maybe add that later on in Season 3, because I think that's supposed to be coming back. New raid episode. Part 1 was okay. Part 2, we'll see kind of how it is in terms of difficulty, if there's a boss at the end, if there's other mechanics that emulate other raids, and obviously this is part of the paid content. I think there's going to be a free access weekend, so if you want to try the first episode, you'll be able to do that coming up. So we get a new weapon. We get the Tempest Torrent Marksman Rifle, and this is supposed to be a hard-hitting DMR. We'll see how useful it is. It is in the M4 category. So we'll see how that balances out. A lot of times when they describe these guns, somebody said, oh, it's going to be a one-shot, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's usually what they're describing it for multiplayer, because in there they don't say, well, it works this way and that way. It's going to probably be a few shots in Warzone. So we get some weapon balancing. STB gets a slight buff at furthest range against armor. And this is kind of a new mechanic they've added so they could balance Warzone differently than multiplayer, which it hasn't really seen a huge difference yet. But I think there's going to be instances where it makes more sense that you're running the STB over others, but it still has the ammo situation, in my opinion, unless you're like in solos. Light machine guns, the RAL gets a nerf. They nerfed it a few different ways. They increased the recoil, which is probably the main one, and then they reduced the headshot and torso damage. We'll have to see kind of how that impacts TTK, because with the RAL, every additional shot adds onto the TTK a lot because of the slow fire rate. And then they also reduced the far range, so that'll make it feel weaker. RPK got another nerf, which is the walking speed and then muzzle velocity, so it'll be harder to hit targets. The Socken, they ended up doing a reduced damage range, which I don't think does anything. Maybe in multiplayer that makes more sense, but in Warzone that's not really going to do anything. Marksman rifle, the crossbow, increased time period, trigger double kills for challenges. And this just make it a little bit easier, because pretty much what you had to do was you had to melee someone and then shoot someone and not miss to get those double kills. So that just makes it a lot easier. Obviously, there's people already grinded out the camo, so it's there. MX9 increased mid damage ranges. The BAS-P increased sprint to fire time. And that makes it slower, and then they increase damage ranges, so got a buff and a nerf. PDSW, slightly offset weapon while ADS, using iron sights to improve visibility. The Vel 46 increased close range damage ranges, which is nice. You get a little bit extra range. Fixed attribute on 30 round mag to improve handling and mobility, so you could actually do that. And then we got the Lockman sub. So they kind of buffed it, besides slowing it down a little bit, but they improved the accuracy of it. So maybe it would be even better. I mean, it was kind of slow to begin with, but so maybe that's too big of a penalty. The shotgun gets reduced damage pretty much across the board, and hopefully that's enough to kind of nerf it pretty much in the ground for Warzone. Because I get that it's a shotgun, it should perform like a shotgun, but every gun has its mode, right? Some guns are great in hardcore, some are great in core, and some will be great in Warzone. You can't expect the gun to be great across the board, so it's okay if it's not amazing in Warzone. A one life mode is a little too punishing, and it lasted quite a little bit too long. And we did have a discussion with them. They said they're going to be updating these things way more frequently. It looked like they took a lot of the advice from my previous video where I was kind of talking about the state of the game, and it looks like a lot of those problems are essentially going to be adjusted. Not all of them, but a lot of important ones in my opinion. The Bryson 800 and 890 increased headshot with the slug type. Attachments, global flinch, reduced recenter speed for flinch, and then minimum increase to flinch on ARs, LMGs, and shotguns. So they actually minor increase. So that's going to make it so there's a little bit more flinch, and then reduce recenter speed. So they made flinch worse. Ammunition, hollow point rounds, remove the penalty from hollow point rounds so that you can actually utilize those. They're probably seeing everyone only use one type, and then this allows you to have a little bit. And then especially if you're going to use these, then you use the sliders to get the benefits of them, right? And then we got frangible rounds, changed healing delay timer set from the last bullet impact, lengthens the overall delay. So it got buffed, removed damage penalty, buff. So they're basically just buffing these. Reduced visual residual damage while burning. So they nerfed Dragon's Breath, and then they added minimum damage against armor for the slugs. Underbarrel launchers, removed movement penalty from grenade launchers, added a recoil control bonus on underbarrel grenade, and no one's really using those. Unless it's a gimmicky. Stocks, reduced flinch received on no stock modification. Bipod grips, reduced ADS penalty for bipod B9 grip, core, so they modify those. People really aren't using bipods. Underbarrel grip, reduced ADS penalty on all underbarrel grips, reduced movement speed penalty for all vertical grips. So that's pretty good. They're actually making it so that the penalties aren't as bad when you're equipping those, which is good because then that should speed up your aim down sight. So instead of just doing global, hey, improve aim down sight by 10%, they're making it so that when you equip attachments, you're not getting penalized quite as hard, which is kind of like the standard set for Modern Warfare 2019. Cold War and Vanguard didn't do that, which made those games significantly play faster when their weapons came over. Muzzle attachment, the breacher greatly reduced ADS penalty. So again, reduced ADS penalty. Optics, reduced ADS penalty on hollow. Removed movement penalty on hollow optics. Removed ADS and movement penalties from thermal. So they just made it so the penalties on ADSing aren't as bad. Fixed handling stats on the UI. For those attachments, for the comb attachments. And then equipment, it looks like frag grenades, claymores, and Semtex got improvements to armor. So I'm not sure exactly how that'll work. Maybe you're going to be closer to one shot now. I'm not sure. Audio submixes were affecting enemy footstep volume, equalized sand footsteps to better cut through the mix, similar to dirt and concrete. New party queuing. This is kind of what they talked up. You queue up, and as soon as your buddy's out of a match, it'll automatically join. So you don't have to go, are you done yet? Are you done yet? It's a pretty cool feature. PC users will have an audio update allowing players to select stereo or surround inputs. This option will default to stereo if not set. We have been investigating clips where they appear to include left and right channels. Yeah, and this is a huge issue where there's a lot of not audio, and a lot of that had to do with just the type of PC you have set up. It would default to different audio. So now that this should address that, because now you won't have those missing channels, which essentially mute the audio, because if it's missing, it's gone. Accessibility, inverted flash, and this allows it so that the screen will go black instead of white. This is actually a pretty big one. Spec Ops, they added a bunch of features. We won't go into too much of that. Multiplayer, they get a new map, new modes, tons of those, bug fixes. Rank play, they added some new restrictions. Some quality of life, improved the visual feedback, so some good stuff there. Now for Warzone 2. So a lot of that stuff we covered is global. It covers pretty much all the modes. And with the quality of life, kill streak availability, existing airspace is too crowded, will now have a message that follows it for X amount of seconds. So if it says airspace too crowded for 5 seconds, so you don't have to just spam it, be like, when is it gonna let me? Cluster strike and precision airstrikes, improvement in airstrike danger notification, be more consistent based on each damaged location, improved directional tracing to prevent the precision targeting from sometimes landing behind the player. And that's one of those ones like, yeah, I called it in, boom, it hits you. It's like, what did I do wrong? Players would now be notified when calling a cluster strike or precision airstrike if they are too close to the affected zone. And that's a good one, because when this one messed up and then this one allowed it to cover up. Give up consistency timer. Give up the timer while down is now more consistent across all mode. It will last 3 seconds. It's basically just quitting out. And then increase the scale of navigation pings on the TAC map and minimap for improved readability. Great. Armor break. The text has been removed from the break notification. This one is like, why did they add it? And this is going to be great. It's just the icon again. Auto looting armor plates. This is such a huge quality of life. Now, while auto loot plates automatically, it'll just fill up your bag. And if you want anything, you can choose to drop armor. And that's kind of how that goes. Spawn protection, they increased the height of it when it cuts off an extra 6 meters because I think people were able to land a little too close, and I think they'll eventually tweak this again. In Resurgence, the kill feed now displays who is about to redeploy with the Resurgent timer reaches 0. So we'll see how that works, because that can get a little messy with kills and all the other stuff, downs and everything on there. Spectating, friendly pings and splash screens are now visible to spectators. Gas mask loot cards, the gas masks now accurately reflect their damage amounts. So we get everything for Al Mazrah and everything for Ashka Island, and that is going to be a W. We'll see kind of what is the most popular, and then that'll be available through the end of the season. Players will be able to redeem a new free gift each day via in-game store. They are symbolic memories made in the game. So you just log in daily and you get these calling cards. And general bomb drones have been temporarily disabled and removed while we fine-tune them. Hopefully they don't come back like the heavy chopper. Gameplay pacing. As team are focused on 2 core areas of the pacing battle royale, the combat engagements in the mid-game, the regain opportunities in the late game. We will be addressing this across Season 2 Reloaded and going into Season 3, with the first change being a guaranteed restock in the 4th circle. Future improvements will include more ground loot supply boxes, especially in the north of the map. Resurgence supply boxes being sprinkled throughout the map, and additional ammo caches and more. I think the goal is to, like, that upper left hand, there's a lot coming with Season 3. And we'll see kind of how that fills out with the rest of the map. And hopefully each area will be a little bit better. Gameplay adjustments. Light Helo has been removed from solos, which is huge. It's like, why was it even there to begin with? We knew in Warzone 1 they removed it. And then we got the contract availability. Increase the number of contracts revealed over the course of the match. Each zone they add contracts, the volume has gone up. And then final circles, we've temporarily disabled final circles in the northwest section of the map while we work on improvements in the upcoming seasons. And that's like what I was talking about. Ashka Island. Redeployed drones are currently active across Ashka Island and will remain live as part of the Resurgence experience. AI combatant departure. They're removing the AI from Resurgence. This is a huge one. Players will now be public enemy number 1 for search and seizure contracts. So it's like a most wanted and data heist. So they kind of just repurposed them, and that's good. Nobody asked for AI on the map. Circle balancing. The first circle will be 20% larger and more likely to be on land, and better enable successful infill. Pacing balancing. Actions that affect the Resurgent countdown timer have been adjusted, and this makes it so that less things impact the timer, so you won't respawn as fast if your teammates are looting and getting kills. And then buy station availability. Improvements have been made to better spread the buy stations more evenly throughout the map. They've updated things for DMZ. For Building 21, no longer need to bring a Building 21 access card into matches by equipping them prior to infiltration. At least one player in the match must have a Building 21 card in their inventory to allow infiltration. Enemy combatants in DMZ can now operate or arrive in a variety of vehicles, not just the armored truck. Okay, cool. We've added some variation, infiltration, exfil points. Destroy supplies contract has been updated to reveal the 4 closest safes instead of revealing all safes within the distance of the contract. Reduce the total number of vehicles in the city for even more distribution of vehicles throughout Al Mazrah. Enemy combatants now have a small chance to drop upgraded weapons upon death. Okay, and then a bunch of bug fixes. Cool. And then it says good luck. So some interesting changes from our call. They did leave some stuff out. I think they're going to be modifying some movement stuff. Particularly, one thing they mentioned is with the dolphin dive. When you dolphin dive, they're going to be improving that delay. So I don't know if it didn't make it into this patch, but that is coming. And I would expect to see some other changes along with that. So pretty straightforward. Some more steps in the right direction. Still not great by any means, but the fact that they are making steps is a huge W. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.